Greetings, folks. Eler here. Today I've got a match from Wes the Handsome, who is sailing in the Tier 9 Royal Navy light cruiser HMS Neptune. Some of you may recognize Wes's in-game name from a previous replay on this channel called Clicking with Your Ship that featured Wes in the Tier 10 Royal Navy light cruiser HMS Minotaur. Now, as a cruiser main, I have a lot of respect for someone who has developed a strong liking and affinity, like Wes, in playing the Royal Navy light cruisers. Cruisers in general tend to have a pretty high risk-reward threshold, and Royal Navy light cruisers are particularly acute because they're very squishy. Now, Wes is top tier in a domination match here on Okinawa. And this is, I think, something I've been seeing is more Tier 9 top tier matches as of late with some of the matchmaking changes that Wargaming has been working on. I don't know if anybody in the audience seems to feel that way as well, at least anecdotally. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, Wes's build is pretty typical for a Royal Navy light cruiser. The one thing I did note is that he has expert marksman, which I always remembered the Neptune having pretty solid turret traverse at Tier 9, but Wes has reminded me that it isn't quite as strong as maybe I remembered, and it definitely is not as fast as the Minotaur. And since he's going to be doing a lot of kiting and heavy maneuvering, having expert marksman to help keep his guns on target is going to be very helpful in this match. Now, Wes is working here, on the east flank over by Charlie. Each team has only 2 destroyers, and Wes's 2 allied destroyers are Alpha and Bravo. And so Wes is going to be working here over on the east side where he spawned. Now, he is the most concealed or best concealed ship on this flank, but there's too much opposing firepower here at Charlie for him to be able to move in and try to take that cap. So he has assisted the Charles Martel in taking out the Baltimore. I do need to give a shout out to the Charles Martel player as well. He is going to do a very good job in this game. And obviously, Wes is going to be kind of the star of the show here. That's why we're featuring this match. But again, I need to give a shout out to the Charles Martel player as well, who's going to do very well. So the Allied team has gotten off to a pretty quick lead here with a 1-ship advantage. Neither team has a cap. Wes has got to be careful here. Takes a little bit of chip damage from the Amage. You can see that Wes is playing in a very sort of non-traditional manner. He hasn't used any smoke yet. He's doing a lot of heavy maneuvering, a lot of monitoring his targets to decide, how to engage and position and angle. Although, frankly, a Neptune trying to angle against 410 millimeter Japanese AP is pretty difficult. He's mainly just going to have to try to use maneuvering to avoid incoming fire. He also has the advantage that he's got quite a few allies backing him up, and there are relatively few opponents here at Charlie, but it's still going to take quite a while for either team to actually get a cap. They're going to be sort of facing off for extended periods here. It looks like the opposing Amage is pushing off, so Wes is going to move in here to try to get some capping action, although he is still being targeted. I think it is still by the Amage. So he has to be a little bit careful here. He does know that the opposing Ognovoy was last detected at what looks like the Gulf 5 or Gulf 6 sector. So right now he's obviously being detected by firing his guns with the Amage within range, but he is going to continue to be detected once he does silence his guns because the Ognovoy is in the area. We just haven't seen him. We're going to see a lot of his torpedoes during this match. In fact, Wes is contested at Charlie, so we know that the Ognovoy is in the cap. And so Wes has made the right choice here. He's got his Hydra running, and there's the first set of torpedoes. So we have a general indication as to where the Ognovoy is relative to Wes. Now, the Allied team has now fallen into a 2-ship deficit. Here comes another few shells from the Amage. He's got to angle a little more here. Thankfully, the Amage missed quite significantly, so he didn't take any chip damage. Looks like the opposing Ognovoy did move out of the Charlie cap, but Wes can't really stay here. He's got both the Ognovoy and more importantly, the Amage targeting him. And so he's got to hold his fire here. Now, you'll notice that he is still detected now that his gun bloom has gone down. And so he knows that the opposing Ognovoy is still in the area and relatively close to him. Wes is going to angle in here against the next set of shells coming in. It takes a little more chip damage, but nothing too bad. Again, this is quite non-traditional. He still hasn't used any of his smokes. And frankly, I think this is a good way to learn good cruiser practices. Is a lot of Royal Navy light cruiser players tend to be overly reliant on their smoke. And they depend on being able to use their smoke to essentially try to be, quote, protected. But a lot of players now are very good at shooting into smoke. Here he's going to nose in here, and he takes a pretty good hit there. I don't think there was any citadels, but he definitely took at least a couple of pens there from the Amagi. So he's surprised he hasn't popped one of his heels yet. But he's pushing in here with the Charles Martel. They have secured Charlie, although the opposing team now has a 3-ship advantage, and the Allied team, despite having secured Charlie, is down to fewer than 100 points. So things are looking pretty dire for the Allied team. Here comes the next set of torpedoes in from the Ognovoy. We know the Ognovoy has moved sort of south or southeast of Wes's position. Here comes another salvo, and that one I think probably was a rogue citadel hit from the Amagi. That took a really big chunk of health from Wes, and I think Wes is going to need to peel off here because the Amagi is just getting a little too lucky with some of his hits at this range. So looking back at the tactical situation, the Allied team has pulled back 1 ship, so they're now down by 2 instead of 3. There's a heavy focus around the Bravo area now. There's the radar from the Chapayev, which is very low health. So as soon as somebody can get some fire on that Chapayev, he should be able to go down. We do lose the Allied Amagi, so we're now back down to a 3-ship deficit. So things are not looking... actually, I'm sorry, I stand correct. Yes, 3-ship deficit. So things are still are looking pretty bad right now for the Allied team. And although the Allied team is now just taking out the Fiji, so they're back to a 2-ship deficit. Now, I think Wes is doing absolutely the right thing here. He needs to not be chasing the Amagi. Even though the Amagi is very low health and he is maybe a tempting target, he is not playing to the objective. And Wes has done the right thing here. He's gotten himself into his first smoke and is going to aid his allies that are defending at Bravo. And we have an opposing Sovietsky Soyuz that has moved himself into the center of the channel, and he's just very exposed here. He's in a crossfire between the Jean Bar, the Buffalo, and Wes here, shooting from Charlie. So this Sovietsky Soyuz, even though the upper tier Russian battleships are very durable, they are he is in a crossfire, and frankly, any ship being in a crossfire like this is going to be very vulnerable. Now, Wes has lost sight here, not because nobody's spotting for him, but he is just barely beyond the 8-kilometer cyclone range of the Soyuz. So he's going to have to creep forward here a little bit. In fact, the Soyuz has done that for him, and now he's able to get some fire back on the Soyuz, and the Allied Buffalo does take down the Soyuz. So we've now evened up the ship count, and the Allied team has just barely taken a slender lead. So this is actually turning out to be a very good standoff. Fortunately, we did end up taking out the Allied team did end up taking out the Amagi and the Charles Martel along with the Buffalo, and I think that's is that a Miyoko? I can't remember what the other one the cruiser was. Yes, a Miyoko are on the west side of the Bravo cap, and Wes is going to move more here into the middle here to support the Jean Bar, which is kind of holding the other side of the cap here. So we still don't know where the opposing Ognovoy is. He was last seen at Juliet 5 or Juliet 4. Now we've just unfortunately lost the Buffalo. Here comes the Alsace, and surprise, this is not a position as a light cruiser you want to be in, but fortunately the opposing Alsace is firing high explosive, which definitely saved Wes's bacon here. Wes is going to angle in here. He has sent torps. The torps look very good. The Alsace is slowed to And he's just going to end up either taking a torp, or Wes is going to finish him off here with guns. He's down to just a few hundred hit points, and he does get him with the torpedo. He does get set on fire, probably from the secondaries from the Alsace. So that was definitely a brown alert moment as a light cruiser player. One that you definitely don't want to experience is, staring down the barrels of a battleship coming around a corner. That's definitely a very scary experience. But like I said, thankfully, the opposing Alsace was firing high explosive. So we have evened up the ship count again. We're 3-on-3. The Allied team has now secured Bravo, so we're starting to get some modest gains on the points. Again, we still don't know where the opposing Ognevoy is. Now, if I were the Ognevoy, I would have already moved into Charlie to backcap, because at this point, I'm not sure I can rely on my allies. I've got two very high health Allied battleships on the opposing team, I should say. The Ognevoy has two very healthy, or relatively healthy battleships. And in fact, the Ognevoy has now just moved into Charlie and is backcapping, which is, in my opinion, absolutely the right thing to do. The opposing King George has pushed out here. He has now put himself in a crossfire between the Charles Martel, the Allied Jean Bart, and Wes here. And Wes has sent some predictive torps, and these are actually going to be right on the mark. And so Wes is going to land another kill here with the King George basically sailing out in the open to get focused down and taken out. And that is Wes's second kill, and he's up to 115k in damage. So now we know where the Ognevoy is. He's in Charlie. The other opposing Sovietsky Soyuz is just around the corner. We can't see him just yet, again, because of the cyclone mechanics. And Wes is going to creep out here with the Jean Bart. Jean Bart is taking point. Now, Wes is rightfully going to slow here because, again, the Sovietsky Soyuz had one-shot him quite easily. He's going to be able to get his shells, over the landmass here. You notice he's shooting right into the bow and getting several thousand in damage with every salvo. So he's definitely doing very good alpha damage just shooting the bow. They do take down the other Sovietsky Soyuz. And now Wes, with his Hydra running, has picked up the torpedo send from the opposing Ognevoy, and the Ognevoy is the only opposing ship remaining on the team. So you can tell based on the cue of the music that we are winding down here. So the question is going to be whether Wes is going to be able to finish off the Ognevoy with either guns or torps. But as a destroyer, I definitely do not like facing off against a Royal Navy light cruiser. These are among the best ships in the game to take down destroyers of any nation and any class. So at least in close quarters. At long range, a Khabarovsk and probably a Kleber could dismantle a Royal Navy light cruiser pretty quickly, but in close quarters, this is a very scary experience for most destroyer players. And it's actually going to be his torpedoes that are going to finish off the Ognevoy and land the win. So 142,000 in damage, 3 kills, 2 assisted caps, Dreadnought, devastating strike. Wes comes in top XP for his team, did a really exceptional job, led by example here, and he tanked almost 1 million in potential damage, which is pretty impressive for a Royal Navy light cruiser. So hats off to you, Wes. Thank you very much for sharing this. I hope everybody enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below, and as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.